What's up everyone, my name is Deltlead, and today I'm going to be covering all that you need to know about the Illuminate faction in Helldivers 2. So the Illuminate are the third faction in Helldivers 2 to complement the Tyranids and the Automatons, and by far these guys are much more difficult. So in this video I'm going to break down the different enemy types that have been revealed in the game so far, as well as their structures, and some tips and tricks that I've learned from fighting the Illuminate that might be able to help you on your Helldives. Now, the first Illuminate unit that we're going to talk about are the voteless. The voteless are the light infantry units for the Illuminate faction, and they are basically converted humans that have been abducted by the Illuminate and converted into zombies. These guys are relatively slow, move in packs much like real zombies would, and they have no ranged attack, a relatively weak melee attack that maybe takes down 1/8 of your health bar wearing medium armor. But they congregate in large numbers. They're about as tanky to take down as a automaton trooper unless you get a headshot, which are instant kills on the voteless. But they come in about the same numbers that you would expect to see Terminid scavengers to be rushing you. One effective tactic to take down the voteless is to wait until they're not chasing the player. When they're not actively engaged and don't detect a player, they will congregate in tight groups, much like zombies would. And when they're congregated in this fashion, a grenade launched from either a grenade pistol or the grenade launcher stratagem weapon are effective at taking down large groups of these guys in a quick succession. Now, the voteless are controlled by the Illuminate Overseers. These Overseers are the medium infantry for the Illuminate, and they're relatively tough and they come in multiple different flavors. First off, they're about as armored as a automaton berserker, so it takes almost a full magazine on a primary weapon to drop one. And these guys have multiple different attacks. The ground-based Overseers have a staff that can be used as a ranged weapon. This ranged attack has a slow charge up, but does a lot of damage if it connects. Relatively easy to judge as long as you're not holding still. The other variant of the Overseer is equipped with a jetpack and a rapid-fire laser rifle, and these guys are prone to throw grenades on you from above. They're very difficult to take out, they move relatively quickly, and they'll harass the player continuously, but you usually don't see these guys deployed with large groups of voteless. Now, the third enemy type for the Illuminate are the Watchers. These guys are hovering drones that search the ground for enemy players. You can see them very easily at long ranges because of their large scanner cone that emits from the front of the unit. When they don't detect a player, this cone is blue, but once they've detected a player, the cone will turn purple, and you only have a few seconds once it detects you before it calls in a dropship with more Illuminate. These Watchers are lightly armored and it only takes a few hits to take one down. However, they fly relatively quickly and can be difficult to get a bead on, so you need to get the drop on them before they get the drop on you. If you don't take it out quickly enough, they'll bring in dropships, and those dropships are going to contain a lot of Overseers and voteless that are going to swarm your position and drive you away. Now, the Illuminate warp ships are the dropship for the Illuminate faction. These guys will fly down and deploy ground troops to engage you. They have no weapons, but they are relatively fast moving and they're much more heavily armored than the automaton dropships. One full shot from a quasar cannon or a recoilless rifle is not enough to take these down. Multiple shots are going to be required, or a SAM site to effectively control the skies. Once the warp ships are hovering over the ground, they will teleport the Illuminate ground troops directly to the ground. Much like the automaton dropships, though, if you are able to take one down, it will fall and potentially land and crush any of the troops that it just deployed. Now, the last enemy type that the Illuminate fields are the Harvesters. These are large tripod walking machines with a beam cannon on the front and a shield generator that protects them from incoming fire. These guys are tough to take down. Just using a Eagle airstrike or an orbital barrage is not enough to take it down, as it'll only knock down the initial shield. However, they're more lightly armored than the Bile Titans, and there are even spots where a primary weapon can penetrate them. They have relatively high health similar to the Bile Titans, but using rockets or quasar cannons or any other anti-tank weapon is going to be effective at dropping them once their shields are down. Now, onto the Illuminate fortifications. The encampments that the Illuminate deploy onto the ground are comprised of Illuminate dropships that have landed and have deployed a ramp where voteless and Overseers will flood out and join the battle. Now, what makes these encampments significantly more difficult to deal with than automaton factories or the terminid nests is that they are shielded. This shield takes quite a bit of damage to take down. One shot from a recoilless rifle or a quasar cannon is not enough to drop it. You'll need to switch to your primary and get a few more shots in to actually drop it down. Once the shield is dropped, you only have 15 seconds to move around to the hatch that's open and put a grenade inside of it. Light Illuminate encampments are comprised of a single dropship. Medium Illuminate encampments are comprised of 2 to 3 dropships, and the heavy Illuminate encampments are comprised of 4 or more dropships. Now, the Illuminate will also use Tesla towers to defend their objectives. These Tesla towers can be taken down by a grenade or sustained fire from a primary weapon or a shot from an anti-tank weapon. And like our Tesla towers, if you get too close, they can be close to a one-shot kill. Now, you have to be standing still for the Tesla tower to hit you, or if you go prone, you should be able to duck under the Tesla tower's attack, much like our own Tesla tower. Now, the last fortification for the Illuminate that I'm going to talk about is the cognitive disruptor. The cognitive disruptor is much like the automaton jammer, a tower that affects your ability to call in stratagems, but it differs from the jamming tower in that it doesn't prevent you from calling in stratagems at all. It just makes it much more difficult by randomizing the arrow combinations you need to call in the stratagem, as well as replacing the text for each stratagem with complete gibberish. To destroy a cognitive disruptor, you have to destroy the individual power supplies around the base. Once these are destroyed with any explosive or anti-tank weapon, the cognitive disruptor is completely destroyed and its effect is no longer applied to the battlefield. Fighting the Illuminate is a way different experience than it is fighting the automatons or the terminids. The Illuminate are landing right now on the planet Calypso, which the major order right now is to defend against this Illuminate invasion. Calypso is a densely populated urban planet, and you're going to be fighting on the streets in a major city against these guys instead of fighting on a barren, rocky desert or a swamp or a forest, like you would with the other two factions. Now, this just makes a much more interesting, much more difficult challenge than fighting the other two factions. You have limited sight lines. There are some major roads that have longer sight lines, but you're going to be fighting in alleys, in corners. You're going to be fighting around buildings all the time. You're not going to be as effective with your airstrikes because the buildings can block some of those airstrikes. It makes for a much more challenging game. The fact that the encampments are shielded and that their heavy unit is shielded means that Eagle airstrikes aren't going to be able to do as much damage effectively on those targets as a orbital barrage. I'd recommend using the 120mm or the 380mm orbital barrages because they have multiple shots, and while the first shot isn't going to damage the target since it's blocked by the shield, those follow-on hits might be able to start doing some damage. So I've got bad news for you guys who like to rock the Eagle stratagems. Those aren't going to be as effective against the Illuminate. This is a much more difficult fight. The units are tankier, they come in larger numbers, you're fighting in different terrain than we're used to fighting. Overall, it's just different. It's weird, it's hard. I don't think we've figured out the meta for taking these guys on yet. Now, that's all I've got for this video. I don't think the player base has been playing against the Illuminate long enough to really have developed any good strategies, but if you've been playing against them and you have any good strategies that you want to share, please leave those in the comments below. Any information that you can provide that helps a fellow Helldiver out is greatly appreciated. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Please let me know if there's anything that I missed or should cover in a future video on the Illuminate. These guys are a pretty challenging enemy, and I think they're going to make for a great addition to the game. Good luck out there on your hell dives, and I will see you in the next video.